Hey, I'm going to continue talking about my record collection. A little bit different in this video, though. All these records I'm going to be talking about, I actually got on my trip down to Austin, Texas back in 2012. I actually went there for the Chaos in Tejas festival. It was a really big 4 or 5 day festival at a bunch of different venues down in Austin. I went down there and stayed with a friend of mine, and it was actually over my 23rd birthday. It was the best way I could spend my 23rd birthday. It was awesome. So yeah, I'll just talk about that a little bit. The day I got down there was the day before my birthday, and actually I only got to see the show at one venue. It was at a place called the Red 7, which they have an inside venue and an outdoor stage. So I was kind of switching between the two. The big show that day, actually, though, was it was Nazem's final North American show ever. Nazem, if you don't know, is one of the big old school grindcore bands, kind of in that second wave of grindcore after Napalm Death and all that stuff came out. They were touring. I guess it could have been their reunion tour because they were using the vocalist from Rotten Sound because the original vocalist passed away. But it was a great experience, kind of a nice little closure to their history. A lot of other good bands played that day. Phobia was one of them. They're always fun to see. The next day, which was my birthday, I started the day off. I actually got to see Ghoul at an outside stage. That was actually the first time I'd seen Ghoul where they used kind of Gwar styled, throwing blood out into the audience and stuff. They killed a chicken and squirted the blood out everywhere. It was a lot of fun, a lot of prosthetics used and stuff like that. And then that night, it was the St. Vitus show again at the Red 7. They were on tour with Church of Misery, who played inside. They were great. That was my first time seeing them. Hail Hornet was there. They're always good. And Magic Circle, actually, Magic Circle is pretty much a bunch of hardcore dudes from New York deciding to play Black Sabbath, basically. And that was my first time listening to them. I only heard about them a couple days prior, and they were awesome. I actually picked up one of their vinyls earlier this year. It's old school Black Sabbath worship, always good. The next day, so the Saturday was my early day. I had a day show at a little tiny place called Beerland down in Austin. Just a little hole-in-the-wall bar, but it was packed full because Toxic Holocaust at Midnight headlined a show there. Toxic Holocaust played last, and then Midnight opened for them. Actually, despite how I feel now, when I saw that show, I thought Toxic Holocaust put on one of the best shows I've ever seen. A lot of people there left after Midnight, which I kind of get. Midnight is awesome. But Toxic Holocaust, I thought, put on the better show that day. And actually opening that show was Power Trip, who at the time was really known in Texas, but not really anywhere else, and now they're everywhere. And then that night, actually, kind of the reason that pushed me over the edge to go to this festival in the first place was Absu, the Texas black metal thrash band. They're one of my favorite bands. I've never seen them. They were playing this festival, and then the weekend before, they were playing Maryland Death Fest. And the drummer, Proscriptor, he had to have surgery or something after his MDF performance. So they dropped off. So I missed them again, so that kind of sucks. But in their place, the rest of the bill still played, which was Morbosidad from Mexico. Good old war metal there. Ares Kingdom from Kansas City. Great black thrash death band from the ashes of from Order from Chaos. They're always good to see. And then Black Witchery headlined, which was pretty fun. I know fun really isn't the correct word to describe Black Witchery. They take everything pretty seriously, but they were awesome. I think they ended with a blasphemy cover that had a bunch of people sing along. It was a lot of fun. And then the last night, I stopped off at the Mohawks outside stage early on in the evening. It was the Moss Icon reunion. Moss Icon, kind of the pioneers of the old school emo sound, kind of along with like Rites of Spring and stuff like that. So it was their reunion. I honestly think that's the only show they've played since they've reunited. I don't even know if they're reunited anymore. I know they reunited to release their discography on one kind of record, and I think that's the only show they played. So that was really cool. Ceremony opened that show, which I had never heard of them before. I'd never seen them before, and they put on the craziest live show I'd ever seen at the time. People were going absolutely nuts for their set and quickly converted me to a fan. So they were cool. Actually, one of the first bands that day was Thou, which is kind of like a doom metal band, kind of smaller now. I know they're doing stuff now again. That was really good too. And then that night, I ended it at some venue. I can't remember. Hotel Vegas, I think is what it was called. A bit down the road from kind of the main strip of downtown Austin, Texas. And there was Dragged Into Sunlight, who is kind of like this black doom sludge combination from England, who is maybe the most evil sounding band on record ever. I remember they played and the lights were completely turned off except they had a giant skull with candles around it in the front of the stage. That's the only source of light. They were awesome. I picked up their debut album there, and one of the best live performances I've seen. Cough opened for them. I remember that day I was feeling kind of sick, and I had taken some medicine, so I was kind of like woozy during Cough's performance, and it just made it really all that more memorable. Really heavy. That whole lineup was crazy. So yeah, that was the last day. The day after, I was flying back home, but I had a little bit of time to kill. So my friend and I went to a local record shop, and I actually picked up some records. Okay, the records I got at the record shop, I only got a couple of them, but they're pretty nice finds from what I could see. The first one is the band Tation Blood, which is, this is their EP, Purging Tongues. Yeah. At the time, I had heard of this band. I knew they're really well liked in the underground and stuff like that, but I really didn't know what they kind of sounded like. This EP is just one song. It's about 20 minutes long, but it's a great song. They're really evil, kind of atmospheric, blackened death metal. Basically, if Portal from Australia was even more evil. Cool little lyric sheet insert and stuff like that. I've since getting this album have really gotten into them. I think they're about to release a new album. They're really great. They've blown up in the underground, so I recommend it for fans of Portal, even stuff like old school Immolation or Drawn and Quartered, stuff like that, if that sounds good to you. And then I also picked up another death metal album. This is Dead Congregation, Graves of the Archangels. This I actually had heard of before picking this up, and this is just a great old school. There's a lot of bands doing the old school death metal sound really good today. This is definitely one of them. Look at that art. Kind of might have to censor that. But yeah, really great, solid old school death metal from a new school perspective on it. Really good stuff. And then actually when I was seeing St. Vitus at the festival, they had their merchandise set up, and actually were selling their records for really, really cheap. Actually, ever since every St. Vitus record I've seen since then is still really cheap. So it's good to pick up if you're definitely a fan of St. Vitus, which you should be. So at the time, my favorite album was the debut album, St. Vitus, which doesn't even feature Wino on it. I've seen St. Vitus a few times, and they've never played anything off this album. It is my favorite album by them. I'll die if they play White Magic, Black Magic, or the title track or anything off that. That would be amazing for me. And then also I picked up their third album, Howl's Victim. Kind of a little bit more straightforward, kind of like faster stuff. All good. White Stallions, classic. I have seen them play that. I've seen them play a couple songs off this. Good stuff all around. But yeah, so that's all the records I picked up down there in Austin. I was really looking forward to going back to the Chaos In Tejas Festival someday. The last year they had it. Bolt Thrower played it. Absu played it again. All these other good bands played, but actually they're not having it this year. I think the promoter, the people who put it on, said if they can't top the year before, they don't want to do it again. So that kind of stinks. They said they might try to do like a lot smaller, which I get. Like if they want to do a festival at just like 2 or 3 venues, that would be kind of nice because you could walk between them and not really miss that much. But yeah, I hope it comes back. Austin's a great town. I would love to go back to see some more shows or another festival or something like that. So hopefully that can happen. All right, that's all my records for today. I'll keep it going. Still got a lot to go through, and thanks.